While everyone was distracted by the noise, something else was happening right in front of us. And almost nobody clocked it in real time. Because while timelines were filled with opinions, reactions, and side comments, Cardi B was quietly putting together one of the cleanest runs we've seen in a while. And the crazy part is, it doesn't even look dramatic. It just looks effortless. But if you really slow it down and look at everything that's happened recently, it starts to feel almost unreal. She just had a baby not long ago, and somehow, in what feels like a blink, she's already back outside like nothing ever paused. Touring, working, showing up, moving like the momentum never broke. Most people would still be recovering, resetting, figuring things out, but she's already stacking moves on top of moves, like she skipped that entire phase completely. And that alone should have been the headline. But it wasn't, because what happened next completely shifted the conversation. She opened pre-orders for her Grow Glam hair care line, and within minutes, it was gone. Not slowly selling, not doing well. Gone. Like it never existed in the first place. People weren't casually browsing, they were rushing, adding to cart, checking out fast, trying to beat everyone else before it disappeared. Some didn't even make it through checkout before everything sold out. And what makes it even crazier is that she herself admitted she barely had anything left. One bottle here, one container there. That's how intense the demand was. When the person launching the product can't even secure her own inventory, that tells you everything about how fast it moved. But here's where people are getting it completely wrong. Everyone's acting like this came out of nowhere, like it was just hype. Like people randomly decided to support all at once. That's not what happened. This was building for years. Because this wasn't just a celebrity deciding to jump into a random business. She's been talking about her hair, her routines, what works, what doesn't, way before any product ever existed. People watch that process in real time. The trial and error, the honesty, the frustration, the small wins. So when the product finally dropped, nobody needed convincing. They were already ready. That's the part most people missed. This wasn't a launch, it was a conversion moment. The trust was already there, the audience was already warmed up. All she did was give them something to buy, and that's why it moved the way it did. But of course, before any of that happened, the critics were already loud. People were questioning everything. The pricing, the branding, even whether she should be in the hair care space at all. Some said it didn't feel premium enough. Others said it didn't make sense for her brand. And a few went even further, turning it into something personal instead of just business. It became one of those situations where everyone had something to say before there was even anything to test. And then everything sold out. Instantly. Just like that, the energy shifted. Because you can debate opinions all day, but when something disappears that fast, the conversation changes whether people like it or not. Numbers don't argue back, at least not immediately. But while she was securing that win, something else was starting to build in the background. And this is where things start getting messy. Because now the attention starts shifting away from business and into something a lot more personal. The focus turns towards Stefan Diggs and what people believe is happening behind the scenes in his family situation. And it didn't start with a headline. It didn't come from an official statement. It came from a comment. One comment. Short, simple, but heavy. His mom stepped into a conversation online and dropped a line that instantly caught attention. Stay on his neck as soon as you let up. That was it. No explanation, no context, just that. And the moment people saw it, everything started spiraling. Because now the internet does what it always does. It starts connecting dots, looking at past situations, bringing up relationships, mentioning children, assigning roles, creating narratives that may or may not even be real. Suddenly, one comment turns into a full storyline. People start pointing towards specific individuals, talking about favorites, reading into posts, analyzing patterns like they're trying to decode something hidden. Every small detail becomes part of a bigger theory. And once that starts, it doesn't stop. Because the truth is, nobody actually knows what's real. And that's exactly what keeps it alive. The less clarity there is, the more people fill in the blanks themselves. everyone builds their own version of the story based on what they think they're seeing. And once people lock into a version, they defend it like it's fact. But if you step back for a second, there's something deeper going on here that most people aren't even addressing. Because the way these conversations play out is almost always one-sided. One group gets blamed, the other barely gets questioned. And that imbalance is what keeps the cycle repeating. Because situations like this don't just happen randomly, they involve decisions, choices being made in real time. And once those choices become public, they stop being private matters and turn into something people feel entitled to analyze. But instead of looking at the full picture, most people pick a side. And once that happens, the conversation isn't about truth anymore. It's about defending a perspective. That's why it keeps going. That's why it keeps evolving. That's why every new comment, every small post, every subtle hint adds fuel instead of clarity. And while all of this is happening, while people are debating, speculating, arguing, trying to figure out what's really going on, there's still something else happening quietly in the background. Because while one side of the internet is caught up in decoding drama, Cardi is still moving forward, still building, still expanding, still stacking results without needing to address any of it. Two completely different energies happening at the same time. One is reactive, the other is intentional. One feeds on attention, the other builds with it. And that's what makes this moment interesting. Because eventually the noise always fades. It always does. The debates slow down. The speculation moves on to something else. The attention shifts. But what doesn't fade is what was built during that time. And right now, it looks like one side is creating momentum, while the other is stuck inside a cycle. So the real question isn't who said what, or who meant what, or who the comment was really about. And it's this. When everything settles, who actually moved forward and who just stayed part of the conversation?